Hello, everybody. I'm going to be telling you about how to compost your waste and how to turn it into a resource. I will also be addressing some of the very common problems that one incurs while composting. So let's move from why in my backyard to why not in my backyard. Composting actually is very simple and very gratifying. All it needs is five basic ingredients: green waste, brown waste, water, air, and effective microbes. These microbes, actually, these are the ones which break down your waste and turn it into manure. So we need to know what you can actually compost. So I talked about green waste. This is the nitrogen-rich waste, and essentially this is kitchen waste, which comprises fruits and vegetable peels, food scraps, eggshells, coffee grounds, tea bags, nutshells. Also includes garden waste as well as grass clippings. You can also put in house plants and cut flowers. And lastly, cow, poultry, horse, and pig manure also comprises green waste. Coming to the brown waste, which is carbon rich: hay, straw, leaves, sawdust, wood chips, cotton and wool rags, dryer and vacuum cleaner lint, hair, fur, fireplace ashes, tissue paper, as well as soil. There are some items which you should not compost. I'll be telling you about them and the reasons why you shouldn't do so. For example, coal and charcoal ash. Now, these might contain substances which are actually harmful to plants. You also cannot put diseased and insect-ridden plants into your compost because these might be transferred with the compost. Pet wastes, referring to dog and cat wastes. These might contain harmful parasites and bacteria. Now, garden waste, which is treated with chemical pesticides, is an absolute no-no. Why? Because it might kill beneficial composting organisms. Coming to fats, grease, lard, oils, meat and fish bones. These actually create a lot of bad odor and they attract pests such as rodents and flies. But if these comprise less than 5% of your wet waste, then it's okay to compost them. So now I'm going to tell you about 5 very easy do-it-yourself steps for home composting. Step 1, identify your composting spot. Now, this could either be your balcony, it could be your terrace, or it could be your backyard. Step 2, most important, segregate your waste into wet and dry waste. This is known as source segregation. Step 3, you choose your composting bin. You could choose from one of the many which are available commercially, or you could construct one of your own. For that, you could use a bucket, a normal dustbin, or a garden pot. So unless it's already covered, you need to cover your compost bin either with a wooden plank or you could use a thick plastic sheet. This is important because it retains the heat and the moisture and also prevents water overload from rain. After this, you need to drill holes around the container at different levels for aeration. The number of holes to be drilled depends on how large your container is. Having done that, now you place a shallow tray underneath your container to collect the leachate. If your container is already resting on soil, then there's no need to do this. Whatever leachate collects in the tray, you can pour it into your potted plants. Because remember, this leachate is not toxic. Finally, you layer the bottom of the container either with soil or you could use coconut fiber. Now you've done all this and now you're ready to compost. So you put layers of brown and green waste at alternate levels in the bin. Cautionary point, the browns should always be in a higher quantity than the greens. You should be adding soil every week and you should also moisten it. You can spray it with water. Then you need to add catalyst. Catalyst is important because it jumpstarts or hastens the process of maturation and your manure gets matured faster and ready to use sooner. This catalyst could either be semi-composted soil, it could be a commercially available EM solution, it could be cow manure, it could also be a homemade mix of jaggery and curd. I have used this last to immense benefit. The last step, and very important too, is daily turning of the pile to maintain good aeration and to maintain an even temperature. I cannot end this without telling you about certain problems that you will encounter. So I'm going to talk about the problem and tell you what you can do about it, as well as what are the long-term remedies. The first thing could be that your material is just not decomposing. The appearance is that it is moist, but it is dense. So you need to open it up. You need to aerate it with a pitchfork or a stick. And a long-term remedy would be to aerate the pile routinely. Secondly, it could be that the waste is way too wet. It appears matted and has a bad odor. So you need to aerate and you need to add brown waste. As a long-term measure, you should cover your bin to protect it from rain. Thirdly, it could be that the leaves are not breaking down and your material appears very dry. So what you need to do is you need to add green waste, you need to moisten it, and you need to turn the pile. As long-term measures, you should aerate regularly and you should ensure a correct ratio of the brown and the green waste. Then there could be an issue where there is no life in the compost and your decomposition is just not visible. Here you need to assess the moisture content, you need to assess the green and brown waste ratio, and you need to add a catalyst. Long-term remedy would be to be adding catalyst and soil regularly. Soil also contains microorganisms. And lastly, another common problem that we encountered is that large pieces are not breaking down. In fact, they're sticking out from your compost bin. So what you need to do is you need to remove them and chop them. A good tip is that you should always chop your waste into small pieces. So let's bin it and win it, so that when you look your grandchildren in the eye, you can say, we knew what was happening in the world, and yes, we did do something about it. Thank you so much for watching this video. And if you should have any questions, please feel free to write to us at slimhomes2017@gmail.com.